Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 30.
I was going to try to, jump on, but then this was really low, so I tried to jump under it.
You, slid under it. I mean, this is an IKEA couch. You got to be careful about that.
That really hurt. I'm going to get, rug
Not
burn.
only is the fabric enough to just, sand your flesh off, but, yeah, it could
Sounds
break,
like something
too.
Pinhead would do.
Anyway, this episode of the Hubcast is brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. We will chat about them a little bit later and how they've got some upcoming Father's Day stuff and whatnot. But we will chat about that a little later. The podcast today is me and Dan.
Yep.
We are very short-staffed, as many of you know. So me and Dan are here to talk about a bunch of stuff all around E3.
Ooh.
I'm pretty excited about this because this E3... it doesn't seem to be one of incredible craziness, but there's still some stuff that's coming out that's, pretty interesting, I'd say. So I'm kind of excited for it.
E3, well, you went there, right? You were there.
Yes. I had to think about it for a second. Yeah, no, I went briefly because it's still going on right now, right? What day is it? It's Thursday?
Is it?
Yeah. It's still going on.
Is E3 still going on?
So,
is there? Well, all the stuff.
All the main announcements have already happened. The show currently is going on. I think one of the biggest things that really kind of sucked about it was the fact that it was opened up to the public this year.
Yes, first time in a long time.
I'm not saying I want to I'm not saying trying to act privileged or anything to say something like that.
I used to watch the E3 conferences and be like, I want to go there one day.
Well, because it's...
And then right when I came of age, they shut it down to industry only.
Yeah, it's there's some ups and downs because originally the whole E3 thing is based off of trying to release a lot of the stuff to the press and let everyone know about it and give them a chance to get hands on a lot of things, but a bunch of announcements. And then, I'd say that it is pretty much the same as PAX. At this point, it's pretty much PAX now that it's been open to the public.
Yeah, when it came to events, E3 was a nice conference to be able to interact with developers a little bit more, get a little bit more one-on-one time with them and with the games as well, and kind of set up either just kind of talks hey, I want to play your game when it comes out and all that jazz and all that stuff. But PAX was certainly never anything that you can't really do much of that there. Did you find it was a little... That
was one of the biggest things is I was unable to see a lot of stuff because of how packed it was. Yeah. I think they added I think it's an extra 15,000 people that came.
Oh, wow.
And it was just ridiculously packed, and I'm not used to it. It's usually pretty busy at E3s most of the time, but this one was
lines are usually pretty nuts even without
without
people.
This time it was just to the point where all the booths were just packed. Everything was packed. Lines were always at capacity, so it was just really hard to navigate around things. So I only got to see most of the stuff with stuff that I wasn't able to get appointments for. I wasn't able to see, but then,
it's kind of like previous years in general anyway. Sometimes the lines get pretty, not sometimes.
Yeah, it's just now it's just everyone is taking up every extra little bit of space.
If you don't have an appointment.
So it was full on just busy, and it was the first day, and it's a weekday.
Is there a priority with passes and stuff? That used to be a thing even when we went.
I don't think so.
Because people used to get in front of
priority is appointments. It was always appointments. I think we thought it was just a matter of just showing a pass. It was all appointments.
Oh, I know that. I remember the it was because the guys had media badges. The guy specifically said, "Oh, you're media? Okay, you can come through." And so I remember the next year, James just was "We need media badges," just because he wanted to be able to cut in lines. But then, it was more appointments after that.
Yeah, it was mostly just appointments.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was just nuts though. And now they're starting even earlier. Now all the press conferences were starting on Friday and Saturday, the day because usually all the press conferences would be Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah.
And
that's why it seems kind of weird that it's still going on.
I know, because it's turned into just such a long event, and I think it's maybe Friday as well, but it might just be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But they might have opened it up an extra day just for more of the public to get in.
Yeah.
But it was pretty nuts. When I was going to, I was trying to find my pass. because I had to get mine from Will Call because mine was kind of a last minute thing. So the cool, awesome people at Microsoft helped me get mine. And so I was jumping around trying to find out where it was located. I went up to Will Call, and this dad they were getting their tickets printed off there. On site ticket registration. Anyone can get into E3, and if you don't get, I think the original tickets for the public were like $200 something. On site, $995.
What?
And I was sitting there waiting for the guy to look up my name, and this guy, the dad is sitting next to me, and he's like, "Yeah, just it passes for these two." And he's like, and the guy behind the counter is looking at the passes, like, "Okay, these are $995 per." And he's like, "Yep. Why does that not surprise me?" He had a wad of cash. He paid in cash. Like $2,000 he just dropped, and his two kids are sitting there like.
When you were like, I thought you meant for a second like he was just like, oh, figures, and then like walked away. He pulled out a wad of cash
and then started dishing out. Like it was ridiculous. Like I couldn't believe.
I buy passes for everybody here now.
I would never in my life be like, "Yes, sons, you deserve to go there for $2,000." Like
this
wow.
is just a day pass, right?
Good night. It was ridiculous. And
my goodness.
Yeah, it was, and then like some people were saying, it's hours of waiting in line. Like that's all it is just waiting in line. It's cool to see stuff.
One game for 10 minutes, yeah.
It's ridiculous. Like I always felt like you could experience E3 better from home at this point because they've put together so many good presentations of everything.
And they usually post the presentations online.
Yeah. So you're able to like see everything you need to do. Most of the time, a lot of the stuff isn't playable, and when it is, you get a brief amount of time. So it's like you can usually hear it from people that are playing it or elsewise. So it's just kind of like, but that was ridiculous. So
it was like last year. I watched some of the conference stuff, and I remember Mafia 3 showed off like this kind of like featurette thing that was like 20 minutes long, and then the 2K people set me up with an appointment, and I was like, oh, okay, cool, maybe I'll get to play the game or something. I go into this theater with like 40 other people, and it's just the same thing they already posted online. I was like, why are people waiting in line for this when it's already online?
That's just the way it is.
I didn't even get that.
But yeah, as far as E3 goes, they had all the press conferences. I'd say some of the bigger announcements that I'm personally excited for.
What is
Mr.
that?
Fly.
That's a colorful fly.
It is a colorful fly. I don't know if you guys were able to see that. He's just kind of hovering around us.
It's because you smell
he
like
might
shit.
be back. Oh yeah, that too. But what's it called? Anthem looks interesting. It's like BioWare's new IP that looks like a combo of Mass Effect, Destiny, and he's still
going
around.
He's
did you
still
hit
going.
him?
I think I did.
I thought I heard something. That fly is just
now he's very disoriented.
Oh yeah, he's going really quick. So Anthem looks pretty sweet. It's one thing that really annoys me that I always tell people about is about 3 years ago, once this YouTube stuff started taking off, all the gameplay reveals of multiplayer / co-op games have always kind of lived under the fact that it's like, let's put together an authentic gameplay experience, and where it's just like, two people are playing and they're supposedly playing cooperatively. And it's
The Division,
like,
Destiny,
Ubisoft,
Minecraft.
They did a lot of that stuff. It's like, oh hey, do you have this? And it's like, no, we don't. Oh, there's a place over there. So they were like flying through the level and stuff. It's like Iron Man, like you're Iron Man in an alien world because you can like fly and go underwater and kind of do whatever.
I just saw that like cinematic reveal trailer.
Yeah. So it actually looks really sweet in that respect. Like it's like a full open world. You're flying around in like an Iron Man suit, and you're killing things and trying to kill big animals are there. Like it's a pretty hostile environment. And yeah, they were like, oh, look at that place over there. Oh, let's wait till later when Kim joins up so we can go over there, and because I don't think he's beaten it yet.
Oh, hey Kim.
And then later,
you gotta go fight that thing. Yeah,
probably about 10, like a few minutes later, they get to this one
spot.
spot and they kill this one little group of enemies, and then they're like, oh hey, I hope the loot drop's good. Come on, be something good. And it's like something pops up.
Oh, we programmed it in to be something good.
And it was like, okay, that's pretty cool, because it's kind of like that Destiny-ish like loot drop system, it seems. And then stupid fly.
I know. I'm just every once in a while I was gonna be like, what?
And then of course it's like, oh wait, someone's joining. Kim drops in, and then another dude drops in. It's like, okay guys, let's go do this, and then they just go off and do whatever.
Kim and Kim 2.
So I was just like, oh goodness. But it looked cool, regardless of how the presentations are around that kind of stuff. It really looked cool and a lot of fun. So I'm interested to see how that turns out. Battlefront 2 was playable there. I didn't get a chance to play it because it was at the Sony booth and it was super busy there. And it looked super awesome because it showed substantial similarities to the original Star Wars Battlefront 2, like the one that everyone really fell in love with. So it like they're really stressing the third person aspect of it, as well as the vehicles being a good integrated part of the game.
I didn't even catch the third person stuff.
What, with Battlefront?
Yeah.
That's like a majority of like what their combat was.
Gotcha.
So, but there's first person stuff.
I guess I forgot about it because
interchangeable.
the last one was first person, right?
It's both.
It's both?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Most
Can you
people
play either or?
it starts off at first person though.
Oh,
So
can you do either or? Can you switch?
Yeah,
oh,
you can switch back and forth.
Gotcha.
It kind of just suits whatever suits your play style.
Gotcha. I just watched the trailer, unless the trailer had third person stuff.
Yeah, so they're implementing a bunch of heroes from all across all the eras. So it's just going to be like the pinnacle of all things Star Wars Battlefront, which
I'm
is like,
excited for that storyline.
It's going to be super sweet. And
Which is canon, right?
The bridging canon storyline to it is going to be cool as well. So it looks incredible. I'm super excited for it.
You see that shot of the Emperor? With like he's like in this kind of like he looks like one of those red suit dudes who used to guard Darth Vader or whatever. Or no, they traveled to the Emperor, didn't they? Anyway, it was just like this kind of red suit with like a screen on the
the Cran guy that had
but it was the Emperor's face.
Yeah, he was just projecting on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty sweet.
That's pretty fun. So that was cool. I'm trying to think of any other big reveals. Metro, the new Metro got released.
Are you just talking about overall? Oh yeah, Metro. What is that called?
Metro Exodus.
Yeah,
and I loved the Metro games.
I remember.
Super awesome.
You've always talked them up. I remember I tried once, and then I got to a point where you're wearing a gas mask outside, and it's a timed thing, and if you'll die or whatever. And I ran out of bullets, and I couldn't get past that part because my save, I couldn't get any more bullets. So I just gave up on that game.
You should try and play it.
I really should.
They're really good games.
People always tell me that I really should.
Not only are they really like beautiful, but like
what was the other one?
Last Light. It was just Metro 2033 and then Last Light. And both of those were very much underground. Last Light kind of touched a little bit more on the upper surface area of things. I mean, both you do go to the surface, but it's even more hostile up there. That's why everyone's in the Metro. Whereas this one seems to be focusing a lot on up in the upper world, and it's actually kind of nice out there. I think some of the radiation has gone down, and they're trying to get somewhere else. So it looks cool. There's some big
Exodus makes sense then.
There's some big huge mutant bear and like a bunch of mutant. There's the Nasalises and a bunch of mutant wolves and stuff like that. So yep,
that's my bear right there.
Yep.
Yo, hey Alex. Alex is in the chat. I missed Marshall's message. Oh yeah, Bannerlord, South Park, Shadow of War, Battlefront 2. Oh yeah, Shadow of War. Oh, you that ranger. So they have like this weird thing. Well, not weird thing. Well, it is weird. They had one of the big gameplay mechanics is you're building an army of orc lords that you've like kind of turned over to your side to take on Sauron and whatever's happening in that storyline. Yep. And so they show this demo where like you beat this guy and then you like do the thing because he's like talking all his bravado like, oh, I'm gonna rip you limb from limb, ranger, and then he like does the thing and he's like, oh, I'm like your best friend now, and he's like quipping,
very whimsical.
It looks so funny, like it looked really like
because I was saying like the biggest part, I think a lot of people like that character Ratbag in the first one.
Yeah,
so I think they kind of went off of that.
Isn't it kind of funny when Ratbag kind of outshines Gollum a little bit in the game?
Yeah. I mean, Gollum was pretty like...
I never finished the game, but Gollum seemed kind of...
Ratbag had like a super anticlimactic death.
Ratbag dies?
Yeah. It was really disappointing.
Does Gollum die?
Why would Gollum die, Daniel? Like, what in the world? But yeah, so it was... Shadow of War looked really fun. It seems like it's, very similar in the way it's set up before, but now it's a lot more intricate with the style of combat. It kind of looked like it was going into elemental stuff with like some freezing stuff with his sword and whatnot.
Yeah, a lot of different little...
Yeah, so it kind of combines more stuff. So
with his ring of power.
I didn't get a chance to see her play that, but I think it was just Yeah, no, it might have been playable at the Shadow of War booth.
They've been showing off a lot of gameplay, and it got delayed, right?
Probably.
I think it got
they all
delayed.
get delayed.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it got delayed. Maybe I'm wrong. Everything gets
They
delayed.
all get delayed these days.
I'm sad about no Red Dead, no Elder Scrolls 6.
Yeah, that was like the Bethesda conference
5?
was like people were like really excited about it, and then
No Splinter Cell.
it happened, and then everyone was just like, "Oh,
Well, I forgot that when I watched the trailers, because I was streaming during the press conference, so afterwards I watched all the trailers from it, and I thought that the Elder Scrolls Legends card game, because they have a teaser and it's like Heroes of Skyrim, and it's just images and stuff, and they're like coming, August or whatever, and I was like, holy shit, there's a new Skyrim or whatever. I thought it was just a Skyrim expansion.
You would have been like, there would have been a lot more buzz.
Yeah, I thought it was an expansion, and so I got excited for a little bit, and then I realized, oh, it's just the card game, which I still want to check out at some point. I still have those actual physical cards that I got from E3 a couple years ago.
They did, a lot of new RPG aspects in Shadow of War. Skull and Bones, as far as Ubisoft goes, Skull and Bones, which is basically kind of taking that whole ship battle-ish.
Apparently, they're hopping off of the Black Flag gameplay. I guess like they specifically took the gameplay, or they built off of the gameplay.
Yeah, they took the ship
game
battle stuff because it was really fun. It had some cool elements to it, and then they kind of shifted it over and started making a standalone that goes off of that and is a lot more intricate and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. I was gonna get a chance. I didn't have a chance to play it because my schedule didn't allow for it, but I did get a chance to play Assassin's Creed and Far Cry. Yeah. So I played both of those. And I got some footage of Assassin's Creed as well. So that should be fun because it's really sweet how they have it all set up. I mean, it was hands-on for Far Cry and Assassin's Creed on the floor. So it's always funny when because I've played a ton of Assassin's Creed. I've played a ton of Far Cry. So I went in there and this actually happened a few times because... Huh?
Sorry, continue. I something I was going to point out later. Evil Within 2. Continue.
I was saying all the games I checked out were all games I've played a lot of and really love this E3. So I kind of destroyed each and every one of them. And everyone was really surprised because most of the time they're used to a lot of people coming in that don't really play those games and don't really understand them, so they kind of have to walk them through it.
When you're at Assassin's Creed 20 and Mass Effect, or not Mass Effect, Far Cry 5, which weren't
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how many people don't play that stuff. So, so I jumped into Far Cry 5 and I just tore into it and destroyed the Liberation Challenge and a bunch of stuff. And he's like, oh. Okay, well, you seem to know what you're doing, so I'm just going to step back here if you need me.
You're like, well, check my channel. I have a playthrough of every single one.
5,000 parts of Far Cry.
Yeah, that's the 6th Far Cry, right? Yeah.
Technically.
The last one. I didn't play that one at all.
Primal. I didn't even finish Primal. Yeah. I wasn't a huge fan of it. It was a little bit of a new curve that I didn't quite get into.
Yeah.
But Assassin's Creed was super fun.
Was 5 pretty similar?
And yes, it's similar to
4 gameplay wise.
Yeah. It's just it's in Montana and you're just running around. It looks really cool. So it's a nice little jump into Hickville, Montana.
You punch any pharaohs in the face?
Any what?
Pharaohs. In Assassin's Creed.
Pharaohs. Oh, okay. I was like, what are you talking about? I thought you were talking about some kind of feral creature that you punch in Far Cry.
In Montana. I'm a pharaoh.
But yeah, and then played Assassin's Creed, and the combat is significantly different. And it kind of capitalizes off the fact that you're more so working off of, a different type of open world than that, rather than, skyscrapers and, climbing and all that. So it focuses a lot more on a different style of combat, which includes a lot more focus on archery too, which I found really fun. And there's some, it's pretty sweet.
Did you get to ride the Nile?
Yes, I think if that was the Nile, then I killed a hippo.
I remember them showing them on water at one point during the thing. I was like, oh, that must be the Nile or something. Killed a hippo?
I killed a hippo.
That's kind of messed up.
Yeah, well, hippos are dangerous, so I had to make sure I dispatched it before it killed anyone. And then I played Bannerlord. Mountain Blade, as I'm wearing the shirt right now.
Okay, I was like, Bannerlord?
Mountain Blade Bannerlord.
Okay, Mountain Blade 2.
Yes, and man, that was awesome. Like, this is the first time they're playable, and they let me come in and play it, and they had like a couple different
Do they, like,
scenarios.
know you by name when you come in?
Yeah, no, the guy there, his name's Frank. He's like their community guy. Plus, I think he has some like dev stuff going on too, because it's not a huge team, so they kind of all work on it. But anyway, so Frank, Frank knows me, so he always invites me in, and like he was really excited to kind of hear my feedback of it, because he knows that like I've played so much of the game. I have like hundreds and hundreds of parts up on YouTube about it. So he's really excited, and I actually, so they had like an arena mode where, they just fought in the arena, so you can kind of get used to the hand-to-hand combat without being too overwhelmed. And then they had a couple battle scenarios, and he's like, okay, I want you to just jump right into the hard mode, because they had like 2 different battle scenarios and then a hard mode of one of the other ones.
We know
He's like, I want to see how you do. I crushed it.
Oh, really?
I crushed it. And he was like, oh man, that's like, no one's done that today yet. So I'm actually pretty surprised you're able to do that.
That is definitely a game where very little of the people coming through.
That's like, and then he's like, and then I went back. The arena mode was pretty tough, because you're facing, I think it was like 30 guys kind of in succession, and it was just kind of showing off their different abilities, because there's like the AI as far as fighting back and forth is a lot different and a lot more challenging now. So they were trying to show it, and like I almost beat it on the first time, and then he wanted me to beat it, so he kept on letting me do it, and it took me a while, because it was very tough and challenging, but I eventually got it. And then he's like, okay, go back to the hard mode. I want to see if it was a fluke. I beat it again. I did.
No flukes.
It was awesome. Just like, it was so smooth.
Get ready for 500,000 Bannerlord videos.
Oh, you better believe it. You better believe it. I'm going to make the longest Let's Play of that game. I think it's going to surpass anything. But it was an absolute blast.
Well,
and
you were trying to talk me into
good
it.
improvements.
You were trying to talk me into it.
Oh, yeah. No, it's so fun. Like, if you have any interest in medieval stuff, like, that's the way to go.
And tactics and stuff.
Oh yeah, it's very tactically structured.
Because you had like a kingdom in the last one, right?
Like,
yep.
You can slowly, like, you can choose not to, but in the event that you actually want to like run a kingdom, you can start becoming a king and getting lords and vassals. And
I remember seeing you like
take over. That was like, I had done everything in Mountain Blade, so I was like, okay, it's time to take over. So I just took over all of Calradia, which took forever, because like there's some parts where you get to, like, some of them, there's one faction, they're called the Roddics, and they're basically Italians. They're like Italian infantry, and they're just tanks, like beastly tanks. And so when it came to sieging their fortresses, it was near impossible, because my strategy was mostly archery. I had just a bunch of really good, talented archers that would just pick off a majority of them, and then we'd go, like a foot soldier band would go through and clear out the rest of the castle. But these guys were just so tanky, had these big hulking shields, that it was like darn near impossible. So
hey, as long as your bannermen stop by a Buca de Beppo's on the way to the battlefield.
Yep. Buca de Beppo.
That's how they get tanky, is they eat the group meals.
Those family style
but
Italian
just for
dishes.
Themselves.
Yep.
And 80 cannolis, please.
Who married a Roddick? What do you mean you married a Roddick? I haven't even done much of the marriage thing in that game. Like, that's a part of it too that I never got into, because there's a lot of politics behind it.
Oh, can you like mend kingdoms by doing that? Through marriage and stuff?
You can get in good with kingdoms, and like it's kind of ridiculous. So I never really got into the marriage side of it, because I'm always off conquering land, so I couldn't be bothered to take care of a wife in there.
In Skyrim, I made time for Uthgerd. Uthgerd the Unbreakable, I think is her name. Uthgerd the Unbreakable. She's the one you beat the crap out of in the bar. She's like, you don't look like a real man, and then says, beat me up, and then you beat her up, and then she's like, wow, I'll be your companion now.
And then you eventually marry her.
Yeah, and then you don't have to, but I did.
But you can, okay, yeah. Interesting.
I actually have a posse going right now. I have a mod that has I can have up to like 30 something followers.
I tuned in and saw you doing that.
Oh yeah. So I have
ridiculous.
Danza Keen's 7 right now. I think I want to get 11. I want to do the Ocean's 11, and I want to do a mission, like a really hard mission or something, and really kind of take them on through. Uthgerd the Unbroken. Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm married to her. You think I would know? Well, not in this playthrough though. But Evil Within 2. That trailer came out.
I never played the first one.
I saw a fair Pit. I saw a fair Brad Pitt. I saw a fair bit of gameplay for that one. It looked all right. I remember, like, you know, Liz had it. She played it a little bit, but kind of got bored with it. I think it's very Resident Evil-y, I think, or a little Resident Evil-y, but not full on scary or whatever. Like, you know, I think there was just some issues with it. I remember watching a lot of reviews for it as well. But the trailer for, like, whether or not you like the series, the trailer for the second one is nuts.
It looks pretty crazy.
Like it's a really like trippy, artsy trail. Like it has some really cool moments in it. So much so that I commented on it on YouTube and I liked it and I favorited it and. Yeah,
it just looks pretty revolutionary that you would show that type of engagement.
Looks like they removed the black bars in the trailer. Yeah, I didn't.
I forgot about the black bars.
They had the black bars,
that was a big.
And then the cap. I remember it was capped at 30 frames.
I remember that was a pretty
when it
big,
came out, and everybody got super butthurt about it. I'm sure this one will be 60 frames with no black bars, no letterboxing. I don't get letterboxing in video games so much. Like, you know, it can be an aesthetic. You can do that in LA Noire if you wanted to. You can make it black and white, and you can have letterboxing.
Yeah, any time that you have a game that doesn't rely on gameplay
or UI or of some sort.
Yeah, because that's like something. If you actually are required to need to know what's going on and actually be attentive and moving around and dodging things and doing stuff like that, it's not a good idea to limit the visual aspect of it even more, because that'll just make it tough.
See, Telltale Batman does it, but I don't mind because it's a Telltale game. It's like a visual novel anyway, so it doesn't matter.
You don't need novelty with it, so you don't need the stuff for it. But
the white goo reminded you of Westworld. I still haven't seen Westworld, but yes. Speaking of white goo, Spider-Man has a white symbol on his chest. Have you seen the Spider-Man gameplay?
No.
What the hell is wrong with you?
What? Is it a game?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's called Spiderman.
Spiderman?
Yes, and it's by Insomniac.
Oh, Insomniac, didn't they originally do one?
Yes.
Yeah, they were the original.
They were the dudes back in the day. So Insomniac is doing Spider-Man. It looks, I'm going to say it here, it looks like the Arkham City of that series. It looks pretty damn fantastic. It has
okay. I was trying
a lot
to
of really
wait.
cool moves. There's like a little, like he has a lot of kind of cool technology. Like when you're setting up, going through and knocking people out or whatever, it's kind of like Predator stuff in the Batman games where you're kind of just going through and taking people out. But there was this like cool little kind of like sensory little web mine that he just threw against the wall and it had a light coming out of it. And a guy walked by it and it just went and just like shot a web out at him and took him down. It was pretty sweet. There was a lot of little cool things like that, and the gameplay looks really fun. And the QuickTime sequence, yes, there are still QuickTime sequences because it's a Spider-Man game, but it looked like the action looks nuts. Like there's a part where there's a crane falling over, and there's also a helicopter he's trying to catch. So he's trying to stop the crane from falling down to the street / hitting other buildings, gets knocked out while the crane is falling. So he's like falling while the crane's falling, and he's knocked out, and then he wakes up. It's so cool and cinematic, and it's super cool. It looks great.
Spiderman. That sounds interesting.
I haven't been this excited for a Spider-Man game in a long time. And I can't remember the last time I played through an entire Spider-Man game. It was probably about 7 or 8 years ago.
Hey, look who just renewed. Look who just renewed.
Sirocco, 19 months in a row. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much,
Joseph,
for the renewed sub, Joseph. Yeah, that's interesting. Spider-Man. I remember seeing it, but I was just gonna transition into talking about our today's sponsor, which is Dollar Shave Club. Ooh. And guys, it's about time that we stepped up our routine with an incredible game-changing shave from good old Dollar Shave Club.
I'm a little stubbly right now, but my neck. I'm still using the Dollar Shave Club
just
razors and stuff.
Shaving the neck, slimming it down a little bit. But yeah, you can get a nice clean shave without paying an arm and a leg for some gimmicky, ridiculous thing or a cheap piece of garbage. But definitely looking to join the club. Dollar Shave Club delivers you an amazing smooth shave. You can get high quality blades and amazing shave butter delivered right to your door for an incredible smooth shave. And it's Father's Day approaching, what more perfect gift to give dad than a membership that he can use for Dollar Shave Club? Because, whenever you're ordering those, you get, the original handle, and then they'll just keep on sending you these awesome blades every month so that you can continue to have that smooth shave, including that awesome shave butter. You can upgrade your bathroom and your shave with the Dollar Shave Club razors. And it makes your life incredibly easy comparative to having to go out and buy them consistently and then, dealing with all the crap around commercialized shave razors
they're so
in
expensive.
stores.
They're so expensive.
Oh, for no reason too, because it's just like, oh, look at this. We've got this crazy apparatus that makes no difference.
Get some razors. It's going to be another $20 to my shopping bill.
Yeah, no, easily, and they're not going to last that long either. So for a limited time, new members will get their first month of the Executive Razor with a tube of their Dr. Carver's shave butter for only $5 with free shipping. After that, your razors are just a few bucks a month. That's a $15 value for only $5. In your first month's box, you get a weighty handle, like I was saying, a full cassette of 4 Executive cartridges and a tube of the shave butter. And you can get this offer now by going to dollarshaveclub.com/hub. That's dollarshaveclub.com/hub. Thank you very much, Dollar Shave Club, for sponsoring this episode of the Hubcast.
Oh, yeah. Emo Fat Guy said, my razor replacement heads are definitely where is it? Defo? $30 for 3. So Dollar Shave Club might be something you need to look into. Oh, yeah. He also said, I like to shave earlier, and that made me kind of chuckle to myself.
He likes to shave.
He's like, I like to shave, and then a little monkey face. When you were talking about Father's Day and shaving, remember the time my dad asked me if I could help him shave his back?
Oh my!
Yeah.
Hey, you guys could be looking at that same situation. You can have a nice new razor. He wants to shave your back.
Yeah, so I was going to bring that up during the ad read, but I wasn't sure if I should. So
you should.
I was like,
no, that's a good bonding experience right there.
So you just get your sign
Daniel,
your dad.
can you just lather my back up and just go to town here?
Yeah, it was kind of weird. It was just one small section. It was just a small section.
Okay.
I didn't have to shave his entire back. I don't think. I don't know. Maybe I just blacked it all out. I don't really remember the act of it, but I remember him asking me and me doing it. But yeah. Thought about Dollar Shave Club once, but too many monthly subscriptions. Yeah, there's so many subscription-based everything nowadays.
It's definitely a new kind of thing because it's convenience. It's just convenience being able to do all that stuff and not have to worry about the store and whatnot.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and kind of like Spencer when he kind of tailored it to how fit however he does it, because I think he does it every other month now as opposed to every month or something.
Yeah. It's kind of you can kind of tailor them to fit your lifestyle and whatnot.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anything else around E3 game wise? Because I have a few stories unrelated to games that I can tell about.
Games. Okay, so Mario plus Rabbids.
Yep.
At the Ubisoft conference. It looks interesting. I've never played a Rabbids game.
Games either, so I don't know.
I've never played a Rabbids game, so I don't really know how that works. But did you see? So you didn't catch the Ubisoft? You didn't catch any of the press conferences?
I didn't catch any of them. No.
So when they had the president of Ubisoft and Miyamoto was there. Miyamoto came out and they have the guns and they're like, oh, and then they at one point referenced the developer, and the developer was front, I guess the creative director of the game or whatever was front row, and he was tearing up seeing Miyamoto and I guess
really?
just because they haven't been able to talk about it, so he was just tearing up seeing Miyamoto on stage and also them showing off the game finally.
Yeah.
I could only imagine being that guy.
That'd be quite the moment.
People started crapping on it, just crapping on it, and I remember somebody quote retweeted something that's people remembered the guy tearing up just when he was about to show this guy worked on it for so long, and
that's pretty revolutionary if you get to work on a Mario game.
How many crossovers outside of Sonic are there with Mario? When it comes to other game franchises, but yeah, got you hyped. It's so soon. Does it come out soon?
Yeah, it might be a quicker release on that one.
Yeah,
not
everyone loves
sure.
Miyamoto.
They said that and this is finally something that I've been harping on forever with Nintendo. They said that they are working on a current Pokemon RPG for the Nintendo Switch.
Finally.
Yes.
We were talking about that. Well, now it's a mobile device by itself anyway. So.
Yeah. So it's, I hope it's like Breath of the Wild, but with Pokemon. That needs to happen. That's a no-brainer. That would just be ridiculous. So.
Yeah. We didn't really touch on the VR takeover. Not takeover. It's still just
No, VR
continuing.
was surprisingly not prevalent this year.
It was mostly
Like,
just old games for the most part.
Yeah.
The Inpatient. You didn't see that.
No, I didn't.
But the Inpatient is like a VR game that takes place in like the 60s or 50s in a sanatorium somewhere. So it's like a mental facility with a crazy bald doctor getting in your face and being like, "Oh yes, you are sick," or something. I don't know. He didn't sound like that at all. But that looks pretty good. Skyrim VR, Doom VR. No, Doom VFR, because you have to add the F in there because BFG, big fucking gun. Virtual fucking reality.
Oh, okay.
And then and then what was the other VR one? There's other VRs. Fallout 4 VR.
Oh, Fallout was VR too.
Yep,
So that
Fallout
was
4
all
VR.
Bethesda was just announcing VR games.
Pretty much the Skyrim VR was on at the PlayStation conference.
Okay.
So that was the PlayStation VR virtual reality they had.
Yeah, I was surprised at the same. So it seems like this is one of those years where they're still developing, like, because like until I'm curious to see if it happens, and I'm sure it will. But I think next year, maybe the year after, is when they're going to actually start announcing fully fledged VR games that are like not just experiences anymore.
Yeah,
because like a game turnaround time is like a few years. It takes to build stuff.
Fallout 4 is the game.
So I'd be curious to see if like in a couple of years they're like, okay,
sure.
here's a VR, headset for the Xbox, and here's a lineup of games that's going out with it.
You're just saying all games are VR at that point, or are you saying?
No,
like,
I'm just saying that like they haven't, like, VR was surprisingly not a thing in a lot of the announcements this year, and when it was just kind of like, oh, we're turning this into VR.
What was it? Was last year
specifically catering? Because last year was like, oh, VR, but no one actually had anything to show besides experiences. So now, like, having some time, they hopefully will have time to build an actual 10 to 15 hour game that's specifically designed for the new VR systems.
Yeah.
Because everything so far is basically just experiences and quick one-offs. So I'd be interested to see if that, and then if nothing happens within the next couple of years, then it's going to fade off. Like if they're like, well, this doesn't make sense, like, let's forget about it, then it's just kind of going to fizzle out and do nothing, but we'll see.
Hashtag Wiimotes.
Wiimotes.
Yeah. Any other games? I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh,
Call of Duty.
Cock of Duty. Call of Duty World War II.
Yep.
They showed off the multiplayer trailer.
I heard some good things about it. I talked to some people that had played it, and they were actually quite like. This is the first one I actually have interest in playing again because it's
not future weapons.
Yeah, it's not future garbage,
Yeah.
and I just hate the fact that, like, for over the past few Call of Duties, the fact that you had to be worried about someone that could be above you 90% of the time because they're jumping around with jetpacks and all that crap.
Yeah.
So being able to just run around in, classic Call of Duty controls and mechanics in World War II again is going to be pretty exciting.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Speaking of World War II, new Wolfenstein trailer looks pretty baller. Yeah, you're right, emo fat guy, because... Oh, yeah, Metroid Prime. I'm not a big Metroid player. I'm not really... Yeah, so, I mean, that's cool, but it was also just a title card as well. But Wolfenstein, the trailer looked pretty damn good. I don't know, the narrative, there's a lot of narrative trailers that came out over this break that I was like, man, that the acting and the animations and the characters actually all look pretty good in a lot of these games. Even the Madden game had has a campaign that actually looks
They've
pretty...
been doing campaigns for a while
cool.
now.
Yeah.
In different sports games, and they've hit pretty well apparently.
Yeah. Looked like they had the guy from Moonlight in it.
I don't know what that is.
The guy who won I think Best Actor Oscar.
Oh, right. I forgot.
Okay.
One of those low budget pieces of trash, right? That won a bunch of rewards.
Yes. Well, I don't. I would.
No, I don't.
Yes.
I have no idea.
I don't think it's a piece of trash, considering Moonlight won Best Picture. Jordan.
Piece of trash.
Terry Crews always looking. Yeah.
I was gonna say Terry Crews was
Crackdown
3.
Terry Crews was Crackdown 3. I didn't play Crackdown 2 like at all, but I was super excited for it, and I played a little bit of it. But I definitely am 100% playing more Crackdown 3 than I played Crackdown 2. I guarantee that. That's my campaign promise for all of you.
Okay.
I will play that game.
I will play that game. Crack it down.
Terry Crews. Yes, Terry. Anything with Terry Crews in it is instant play for me. Hopefully
is he
gets
just
an
part of the
Overwatch.
marketing, or is he actually in game?
He's one of the characters.
Okay.
I think.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Or like the commander dude. There's like multiple characters.
Good old Terry Crews
that you could do, and I think everybody has a side cut. Shadow of the Colossus remake. That looks incredible. Did you see have you seen? Yeah, you missed everything. You were at E3. I would have just watched all those.
That's why I'm
trailers on the
telling
plane
you.
or something.
You actually see more when you're not at E3.
Yeah.
Every single E3, I know nothing about half the stuff until I
missed
get
most
home,
of the
and it's like,
conferences.
oh, what? That was there?
Yeah, I missed most of the conferences. I only caught the Ubisoft one, most of the Ubisoft one, and a little.
See, I was telling you, I can't watch conferences anymore because you can literally just go on the internet afterwards and watch all the stuff they show. So why sit there for an hour listening to a bunch of executives
FOMO.
read title cards and use the hand gestures that they learned from an acting a stage therapist, I'm going to call them. It's like, okay, you have to make sure you at least do a little bit of this, otherwise you're going to stand up on stage. So each and every one of them, you just watch it.
Sure. Yes.
Exactly.
The last night, I showed you that trailer
Oh, yeah,
just
that
shortly
looked
ago.
pretty sweet.
From Raw Fury, they have a thank you, Matt. You suck too. No.
3-4-3-4-3-4-3-4-3-4
Guilty Spark. Anyway, slam dunk? No. The last night trailer from Raw Fury publisher. It's like this pixelated, super realistic or cinematic looking game. So it's like pixel art, but it has depth of field and it has like light
Color
rays,
grading, light rays,
like super saturated and futury looking and super like it looks really cool. It's kind of Blade Runner-y. Lots of some neon in the background and stuff like that. It looks really like I thought it was because it was for the Xbox press conference and I was on the toilet when I was watching all those trailers, so I was on my phone and it pixel art, if you don't know, from on your phone and kind of far away while you're also probably taking a shit. Not saying I was taking a shit,
You
but
were.
probably taking a shit. It just looks real. So it's kind of crazy, and it's not kind of crazy. It is crazy. It looks insanely good. Just style wise, I don't really know what the gameplay's like because they didn't really show too much of him running around and stuff. But there's a part where he's like walking up to a guy and is about to like shoot somebody. And I wasn't sure if that was like somebody walking towards, like if that was actually motion or like a little cutscene or something like that. I was wondering how much or how it looks when you're running around and stuff. And then yes, because of that, after that, the creator of the game, the creative director, kind of like was under fire because a couple years ago during the Gamergate stuff, he was, I guess, posting anti-feminist stuff and. Got into hot water with that, but apparently he has long since reformed and kind of changed his ways and saw the error of his ways or whatever. Has long since apologized, and yeah, a lot of it, like there seems to be a huge kind of debate around it whether or not you should support it or not. Which I mean, I don't know. There's a certain element of I will.
What's his role exactly?
I think he's the creator. I think he's the developer.
Okay.
It's Tom Cruise is a crazy motherfucker. Do I agree with any of things he believes in? Not really, outside of being a cool dude.
Is anyone? Not really.
And he's pretty crazy, but I'll go see his movies. Like, I like his movies. He's probably crazy, though. He's never going to work with me.
But would you watch the Bill Cosby show?
Jury's still out, Jordan. Literally. They're deadlocked. But yes, personal opinions should have nothing to do with the development. Yeah, and but then
Kind of
then
reminds
again,
me of Phil Fish. Oh goodness.
Well, yeah. So, then you have like Roman Polanski. He is a really great director. He's made some movies that I really like. But he raped an underage child and then fled the country. in the 70s and hasn't been back since. He's been living in France, making movies, and they've tried to extradite him. He was held in Swedish prison for a while, but then they decided not to extradite him. And like he's that's a very detestable thing. The fact that he ran and is still like at large technically, but still making movies. Like I've never wanted to either like ever. I just never had desires to watch his movies because of that. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, he might be a great filmmaker, but at the same time, Charlie Manson killed his wife.
Who?
Charles Manson.
I don't know who that is. I recognize the name though. I don't
Charles
think
Manson,
I've ever looked into
carved
that.
a swastika into his head. Crazy. The Manson murders, Manson family.
I never really looked into that, but I've seen pictures of him. I know who you're talking about.
Roman Polanski's wife was one of the victims of because they would break into Hollywood. They would go through the Hollywood Hills and break into homes and kill people. And so Sharon Tate was his wife. And
goodness.
Anyway, how did we end up here? I don't know. But no, I know it's just because when it comes to
supporting projects of people that have questionable beliefs /
if Hitler made a movie,
doings.
I don't know if I'd watch it.
I don't think anyone would. Well, who knows?
But I'm not saying that. It's not the same thing. And at the same time, the guy also apologized. So it's like, and that was years ago. Anyway, I like dark things. I'm always interested in dark things. Sorry, the fact that I know all that stuff,
like The Dark Knight. And The Dark Knight Rises?
Speaking of...
Oh, yeah. Man, that was an accidental transition of something even darker than The Dark Knight.
Well, we should get back to E3, but two things.
Do we even have much to talk about?
Oh, you said you had stories outside
I can do that last.
You only did the developer thing. Yeah, okay. Well, so Adam West passed away a few days ago. He had apparently a very short fight with leukemia and passed away surrounded by friends and family. So I'm glad, he apparently went peacefully. I woke up to that in the morning. My brother had texted me in my group chat with my brother and my sister. And I was so sad. I was so sad that day. It just kind of like affected me throughout the rest of the day. I'm pretty bummed out and just generally like, I don't know. I kept thinking about it just because like he did so much stuff like with Family Guy. And do you remember that game? There was a video game, I think it was called 13. He was the bad guy.
Stylistic.
Yeah, it was like cell shaded, and he was the bad guy in that.
I never played it, but I know the game very well.
I remember watching the behind the scenes featurette for it where he was doing the voice acting.
I've honestly probably seen him more in Family Guy because I never watched anything like Batman related in the past, besides just like ridiculous gifs of him and Robin doing weird stuff. That's about it. Other than that, I've probably seen him more as Mayor West than anyone else. Yeah.
I heard they're going to shine the bat signal in LA in his honor. Yes, they did that yesterday. They did that last night, I believe. Thursday night at 9 o'clock. I saw the tweet earlier. He was an amazing actor, inspired so many people, and he was my introduction to Batman. He had
some stuff in The Simpsons though too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he popped up because I remember he had
How come
that.
Batman doesn't dance anymore?
He had that portion where it was like, I need to use my anti-carousel spinning spray, and he like sprayed on the carousel that was spinning too fast.
Yeah.
That's all I remember.
He was pretty amazing. My tweet, I tweeted about it in the morning, just kind of paying my respects or whatever. And I said Batman will always dance because he was like, it was right after the Tim Burton movie came out, or shortly after, because it was the first couple seasons. And he was like, how come Batman doesn't dance anymore? And then he starts going,
and Simpsons,
and then Homer just slowly backs away because he's just dancing. So I said Batman will always dance. But Batman the 60s show was the first show. It had just started in syndication when I was a little kid in the early 90s. So I remember my parents telling me about how I would sit in front of the television and just go na 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 Batman like to the TV all the time. But I wouldn't say Batman. I would just keep saying na na na. Wait, when did Jacksepticeye join the creatures? I don't know. When did the blue popsicle join the creatures?
Oh, my green hair?
No, it's not. Well, yeah, it is kind of green.
It's pretty green now.
Yeah. Mine's getting blonde.
So, in other Batman news, what's the Justice League crap?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so Joss Whedon's he's doing the reshoots and finishing post-production right now. And Zack Snyder had been working with Junkie XL on the score for
Music
the movie.
dudes, yeah.
So Junkie XL is most notable for dun, 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 dun. That's the Batman theme.
I thought it was the
Batman v Superman.
Inception theme.
No, it's the Batman theme. And so a new composer has been brought in to finish the movie, and it is Danny Elfman, the original Batman theme creator. Well, not the original Batman theme, but for the movie. Well, not that one.
Oh, goodness. If anyone's seen the,
he also did the Spider-Man theme song.
he did the Simpsons theme.
He did the Simpsons
Like,
theme.
this is Danny
did Age
Elfman,
of Ultron.
Beetlejuice. Like,
Beetlejuice.
Danny Elfman is like, when you think, like, if you saw the Family Guy Star Wars special, like that part when Chris is like, oh, what, John Williams and the Philharmonic, and they're dun, 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 and they're like, now do Danny Elfman.
Yeah.
Like, Danny Elfman's a very, like, animated.
But he's also
He's done other stuff.
He's
I know,
done some
but
very regular scores.
He's known for his comedical, like, whimsical.
That's true. He does
music.
a lot of whimsical, and some of his music sounds very similar. There was a movie we watched recently. Oh, Hitchcock. That movie was scored by him, and it sounded like a Tim Burton movie score.
Yeah, there's a lot of Tim Burton stuff, and
yeah, he's worked with Tim a lot. It was funny. I was watching a composers roundtable with Hans Zimmer and Danny Elfman, amongst other composers of the Best Picture people that year. And Hans Zimmer was talking about his relationship with Christopher Nolan, about how, you know, they meet before the movie starts and they talk about ideas, and Hans is kind of working on music and coming up with tones and stuff, and Chris will have that in mind when he's working on the movie, and like usually Hans is working on the score throughout that. And Danny Elfman was like, I wish I had that. I mean, usually it's like, you know, I get the movie and I'm scoring it and I don't get much. It was so sad. I was like, oh man, he's worked with Tim Burton so much and they don't have like the shorthand or anything. Like, obviously they have a shorthand, but like,
usually that's like
he just seemed like envious of Hans Zimmer and Christopher Nolan's relationship, as opposed to Tim Burton and Danny Elfman.
Goodness.
Anyway. No, Danny Elfman came in last minute on Age of Ultron, apparently. I didn't realize.
Oh, he did some Age of Ultron
and
stuff.
had touched up Brian Tyler's music, so... But
interesting.
We'll see what he does. But a lot of people were like, I hope he sneaks in the old Batman theme. I'm like, probably don't do that, because that'll take everybody out of the movie.
Yeah.
But how do
maybe it'll be like something where they turn on a TV show, or like, you know, like Flash will turn on a TV show and look over at Bruce and be like, and it's just like playing their goofy theme, and watch, it'll be something like that. It's gonna be.
I doubt it, but okay.
It will be. You just watch. It'll be there. They have to add comic relief to the movie, Dan. How else are they going to do that?
Well, Jeff Johns did say that, like, officially, that kind of moving on, they're kind of looking to do more fun stuff, be more fun.
Goodness, I don't even want to know. We'll just let it happen and see what happens.
What happened at E3, Jordan?
So I have one story in particular that's,
I'm ready for this one story.
The most interesting thing. It's not E3 related, but happened in LA when I was there. So I had gotten into LA, and, you know, much like anyone that arrives at the airport in LA, you need a ride.
Stop
out of
roping
there.
your microphone stand. Jesus, buy it a drink first.
So, so much like anyone that arrives in LA, you need a lift from the airport. You know, whether it be an actual lift, or it be a taxi or Uber. You got to decide one of those. So I decided Lyft, and boy, was I very much gifted a very interesting experience by doing this. So the guy that picked me up, I can't even remember what his name was. Some dude that was just interesting. He pulled
Let's
up.
call
in
him Sturvin.
He pulled up in a Prius, I think. It was a Prius or a Volt. I think it was a Chevy Volt, like electric car.
Does it have anything to do with the story?
Yes, it does.
Okay,
so,
cool.
Electric car. This guy turns out to be the biggest hustler. My goodness, I'm thinking of more things that are just compounding the story in my head that I completely forgot about. So this guy turns out to be the biggest hustler I've ever talked to into very interesting realms. So he tells me that Lyft is his second job, and he's been driving since January. Because I asked, I was like, so how long have you been doing Lyft? And he's like, yeah,
That
I've been
seems to
doing
be the
since
main
January.
conversation that anybody has with any
What else
Lyft
are you going to
driver.
talk about half the time? I mean, they'll ask you what you're here for. You tell sell them video games, and they're like, "Oh, video games! I used to play this," and I was like, "Okay, yeah, great." So anyway, I was chatting with him, and he's like telling me about how he's like, "Yeah, I do eBay most of the time," and then
reselling.
Yeah, so I get into this, Dan. Don't you worry
Sorry,
about
I'm
it.
sorry.
So at first I kind of pass off the
Good old
eBay
Stern.
thing as like whatever, and then he starts going into more into depth into how he's doing his Lyft, and he's like, yeah, I mean the reason I got this electric car was because he's formulated this entire just like strategy around Lyft that is just basically making the most money possible doing Lyft while getting everything paid for. So he's like, yeah, I've been working here, and I eventually, found out all the ins and outs of everything. You get bonuses for having electric cars, incentives and stuff. So he's basically not paying for his car or the electricity used to charge it because of how much Lyft he's doing. He has those bonuses.
I work 20 hours in a row. I don't get any sleep.
He has all these bonuses. So if he gets specific, goals of how many people he picks up and no cancellations, he gets bonuses each week for that. And so he's basically gotten it to the point where he's paying nothing for his car because Lyft's paying for it, and he's making as much money as possible, which is great. Like he's got it all figured out. And I was like, okay, that's cool. And I think it stops there, but no. This guy goes on to tell me like, yeah, I mean, this is part of what I do, but like the main thing, I do a lot of eBay stuff, and it's been made even easier since I started doing all my fulfillment through Amazon because I was sick of going to the post office 10 times a day. So basically, he just gets product and gives it to Amazon. They resell it. And it's like a whole resell thing. And I eventually asked, so what do you sell on eBay? He pauses for a second.
Oh no.
He pauses for a second. I'm like, oh goodness, I don't even want to know. He's like, he starts off stuffed animals and dildos. And I'm like,
wait, those two exclusively?
yes, that's it.
Are the stuffed animals related to the dildos?
No. What? No, this man sells stuffed animals and dildos.
Plushes and dildos?
So I'm like, okay, well that's I've heard that Amazon makes a lot of money off of sex toys like that. And he's like, yeah, it's crazy. It took off, and sales have been through the roof on everything because you start going into, as far as the dildos go, I buy them for like, you can get crates and boxes of those things for like $1 a box, and you can sell them for $30 a pop on there.
Man,
because people are just like they look for the discreetness of Amazon. I'm just like,
Blue Bandit, I came into this at the wrong time. What?
Yeah, no kidding. I was like, okay, well, that's. He's like, yeah, I got a house, and I'm putting, my kid. I'm raising a kid. I'm a single dad, and and
that's awesome.
I got a house with,
gosh.
by selling stuffed animals and dildos online, and I was like,
man.
that's great that you're making that work. And he's like, so as far as the stuffed animals go, this man. Oh my goodness. So as far as going through Lyft, like he's obviously a man that's very conscious about how things work business wise. So he kind of goes that extra mile to make sure everything's worth it and he gets the most out of everything. This man gets his stuffed animals one of two ways. 80% of his stuffed animals he acquires by going to Dave & Buster's and playing games.
What?
Goes to Dave & Buster's and plays games and has gamed the system in a way that he's able to win every time.
Does he get the dildos in the gift shop for the tickets?
No. The dildos he just buys online, like big boxes of like molds of them that he just gets for like $10 a box, then sells them for $30 a pop on. So he makes tons of money off of these. And then he goes to Dave & Buster's 1 hour a day and wins tickets. So he's like, yeah, I've got 500,000 tickets on my Dave & Buster's card right now. And I play it. So I have these 3 games that I never lose at. So I just keep winning tickets. Then at the end of that 1 hour, I don't spend more than an hour there because otherwise it's not worth it. I go and buy 10-inch Pikachus and sell them. And I sell them for $30 a pop, or 30 or 60. 30
Down
or 60.
on the boardwalk.
So he goes in there and he puts them, he lists them all, and they all sell on eBay. And he's just, and then he's like, and then, yeah, other ones I just kind of stumble across via some other, like, other ways. And he's like, yeah, I've got a bunch of, I look around, the trunk's right there. He's got just bags full of stuffed dinosaurs in his trunk. And he's just like, he's talking to me about, I didn't see any of those. Those are probably underneath it. But this man's talking about all this stuff. And I'm
inside.
Like, my goodness. So he's just like hustling every, like not only the Lyft stuff, just trying to get the maximum amount out of it. it, but he's like trying to game the system, and he's like, yeah, you can't go on Wednesdays though for too long, even though it's half price, double tickets on a lot of the stuff. You got to be careful about the way you do it because you can't spend the tickets that day because they like do some kind of weird thing. So he figured it out. So he goes like 1 hour every day, and then on the double days he does 2 hours or something like that.
God.
And then
Is
comes
it like
back.
Vegas where they're looking for card counters or something like that? It's like, is this guy selling dildos and teddy bears on eBay?
He may be like I don't know what his play
Joseph
is.
wants to know what his eBay account is.
Yeah,
Did you get his card?
I don't know. No, I didn't. But okay, so it gets weirder.
I have a question
in other
before
ways. Okay, well, yeah, go ahead.
Do you think he ever mixes up boxes when he's sending them to
might,
Amazon?
He very well might.
You think
I
some
don't
kid's
know.
like, oh, I got my
And
teddy
then he
bear.
gets a big old schlong in the mail.
Just starts swinging around. I have my sword.
Oh my goodness. It gets weirder though.
All right, weirder.
In some ways. So yeah, so after I've like listened to this guy talk about, he starts going into like his experiences with different Lyft like people, like, so he's like, yeah, I've been doing it for a while, because like the thing was, he offered me, he's like, yeah, you want a quesadilla? You want some wings or something?
Want
like
a quesadilla?
Because he was dropping me off next to the Dave and Buster's in Hollywood, so that's why we had kind of gotten on some Dave and Buster stuff. And he's like, I'll take you in. Like, I don't usually offer my Lyft guys this, but you want to go in? I'll get you a quesadilla or something, because he's got all this money.
Oh my
like,
gosh! Please
banked
tell
on
me you
his-
took him up on it.
So, no, I was like, no, I'm good, because I was going to lunch with somebody right there, so I didn't have time to stop and like go and grab quesadillas with this man.
Quesadildos.
So, yeah,
That's what he was saying. You just misheard him, Jordan. He was saying quesadildos. Do you want a quesadildos? I don't usually do this for my
usually
Lyft
give it
guys,
to
but
him,
I have quesadildos.
so I turn him down. He's like, oh yeah, I never offer it to people. I usually have. It's usually the Lyft people that offer me stuff. Like they're offering me crack and like a bunch of other stuff. I actually just the other day
I bought crack.
just a couple months ago when I first started Lyft, there's I had just broken up with my girlfriend, and this girlfriend just got in the car, said she just broke up with her boyfriend, and she offered for me to come back there with her. And I did. And she's like, yeah, do you have a condom? He's like, I know where I can get one.
I got a bunch of
And
dildos.
They went over it. They did it in the back seat of his Lyft car. And he went on to
Was he
stress.
still charging it?
He went on to stress that, like, oh, it's not this car, don't worry. Because I was sitting in the back seat, and I was like, what? And then to add to that, he was like, yeah, and then I found out later that when I pulled up and dropped her off, her boyfriend was paying for the lift, and then it was still charging.
Oh my God! What the hell?
Oh.
What the hell?
And then I
was-
got dropped off and continued to walk as fast as I could away from
Oh
him.
my
as he
God!
pulled
I would
away.
have gone to Dave and Buster's with him. They're like, show me your technique that you can win so many
Oh,
teddy
no,
bears.
if I
that
had
it
time,
works.
I totally would have, because that guy was just,
You'd always know. You'd always know what machine and how to get them.
yeah.
Do they just keep How many does he get out of there, like, per day?
10 Pikachus.
10 Pikachus.
So 10 Pikachus, I think he said that he would spend $60 in an hour, so about $1 a minute. He'd spend $60, get 10 Pikachus, and each of those Pikachus would go for $40. So he'd be like $60 in, $400 out. $60 out, $400 in. So he would like profit that much. And
What
then there'd be
the
double ticket days
fuck?
where he'd double up on that. And it's just, whew.
Sturvin. Good old Sturvin.
Yeah, that was
Jordan and Sturvin Adventures.
that was a interesting,
Put this guy on the Hubcast. Yeah, we need to
interesting time.
find his contact info, Jordan, and we'll put him on the Jared
Yeah,
seat.
I could look. Wait, let me look at my Lyft receipts and see if I can like see what his name was.
name
Just his
was?
first name. I'm not gonna say his.
Barry.
I just want to have a name to the guy here, so that if it's ever referenced again, we know who we're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just a interesting trip there.
Dan, is there a story behind your hair? It was a stream donation goal thingy, majiggy.
Trying to find.
Has
my
the staff
email
of Dave
here.
and Buster's ever asked him why he always gets Pikachus?
I think I'm sure they just don't care. They're probably just like most of the people that work in Dave and Buster's are like, whatever.
I would at some point be like, so what's with the Pikachus? Especially if he's leaving with 30 per or 10 per, 10 every single time.
Let's see, that was 9.
Sounds like a
a.m.
Jerry. We're having bets on names. Okay, let's. Okay, in the chat right now, bets on names. What do we think this guy's name is? I'm going for Sturvin. It's probably not very likely, but Jordan's rounding around. Don't say it yet, Jordan, because the chat hasn't gone off yet. We have a Franklin. Franklin sounds like a dildo teddy bear guy. Teddy bear dildo.
Where's the
Sven? John.
Okay, that wasn't
Chad. Peter. Thomas. John. There's another John. Larry. Ooh, he sounds like a Larry. Greg. Was it Greg Miller? Just
Miller.
kidding. Haha. But his name is Mark. Simon. Albert. Jeff. Michael. Chris. Charles. Brad.
Oh man, get ready. Oh, that's not. Wait, is that him?
Can you see? You should be able to see the picture.
Yes, this is him.
All right.
This is him.
I mean, we have Ignacio. All right, Jordan.
His name was Brandon.
Brandon. There were no Brandons.
Were there no Brandons?
There was a couple Brads, I think.
Goodness.
Brandons. That's close to Sturvin. It's the same amount of syllables. They both end in N. A leisure suit. Leisure suit.
You want to see his picture? I'm not going to show them, but you can see it.
That does not look like a guy who's getting laid in the back of his Lyft. He does look like a guy who sells dildos to Amazon, though.
Okay, so that's going to be about it for today's Hubcast. On that note, we do thank you guys for sticking around
Thank you.
today. We're currently, as far as the hub goes, like we're still kind of in the same place right now. We're trying to work on some stuff when we can, but you know, we've got all these podcasts that are, you know.
Oh, no picture did it go away? Oh, no picture. I thought they said no picture because we went away. No picture because of Brandon.
Oh yeah, Brandon the Hustler. He'll always be known as Brandon the Hustler. But yeah, so we've got some other stuff, trying to get some stuff done for the hub.
That Foodies episode's coming out soon. And we have a short coming up here soon as well.
Yep.
Here in the next
That way
week,
we can get stuff up that's not just branded and sponsored
and
stuff.
the Hubcast.
While that stuff does help, it's incredibly helpful to have that stuff. We're trying to make some other content as well, so it's not just that.
do some Twitch streams as a group. Maybe at some point we will let you know. I definitely want to get something like that going here soon. So yes. Sturvin the Hustler. All right.
Yep, that sounds good. So thank you, everyone. Remember, this is on iTunes and SoundCloud and all that great stuff, so you can listen on the go. If you're listening on iTunes now, thank you for watching or listening on iTunes. Oh, man, you can see like a tan line on my thigh, too. Goodness. Yeah, it's pretty bad. I need to get somewhere to get some sun because it's pretty nasty.
Just say goodbye.
Okay, bye, guys. Thanks, bye. Bye.